Okay, so we're at 1:30, so we're going to go ahead and get started because we've got a full agenda today for our December town hall, our last town hall of 2023. So welcome to all of you who are joining us. I'm glad to have you here. I'm sure we'll have more people signing on as we go. So I'm Sarah Grosskreitz, and I'm the Employee Development Manager here at Deed. And so I will be heading up the town hall today and introducing and bringing along our presenters as we get going. So as I mentioned, we've got a pretty full agenda. It's great to see folks are sharing their favorite things about winter in the chat. We added a little pre-meeting question for folks to ponder. So I think with that, we can go ahead and advance to the next slide. People can keep sharing their favorite things about winter if you want to in the chat. And with that, I'm going to hand things over to Commissioner Varilek to get us started.
All right. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, everybody, for joining. And I did not type in the chat, but when it comes to winter, I am a bike rider and I like to ride the fat tire bike, and doing that out in fresh snow and with no music or anything like that, just hearing the crunch of the snow under the tires and feeling like you're driving this monster truck. That's a fun feeling that sort of puts a goofy smile on your face. And I would say also holiday treats. And in fact, I'm coming to you from the Department of Revenue because we had this quarterly leadership meeting this morning. And so variety of folks from across the enterprise, among other things, had a competition for holiday treats, and I provided the deed entry. It was, I don't know if any of you know the Twin Bing candy bar from Sioux City, Iowa. It's like chocolate and peanuts and cherry and so forth. Well, I make a bars version of that. So it was the Minnesota Twin Bing bars. And there was a competition, but I had to leave before the competition results were announced. So the fact that my phone hasn't blown up, I think tells me the deed with my leadership did not win the competition, but I'm happy to be told otherwise if anyone has that information. Or maybe someone could tell us in the chat who did win the holiday treats competition. Okay, Alicia is letting me down easy that no, we did not win. Well, great to be with you all. So moving into the subject matter of our gathering today. First of all, I wanted to note that I'm told historically it's the December meeting where we will do our employee recognition awards. But this year we decided to move that into January, partly just given the crush of everything else that everyone's working on, and to make sure that we can do that right and do it well. And so you'll see more details on that, but that's coming soon. What I wanted to do in my time is just give you a little bit of a recap of December and then some short reflections on the end of the year. And then I'll hand it over to others who will take us through the rest of the presentation. If we can go to the next slide, please. Oh yeah, there we have the overview of the agenda. And thanks to everyone who will be contributing. Okay, so here's something that happened in December, and this is just kind of a teaser for you. I believe in the Friday note this week, I will include a link to a video of what happened. Okay, Stacy is asking the question, did I jump in the lake yet? Not exactly. So the commitment was if you all broke the record through your generosity that I would jump in a lake in November. I missed the deadline and I struggled to find open water in December because it's cold out there. But I did find open water, and we'll have a video with evidence later this week. So look for that. And again, in all seriousness, thank you to the many generous people who contributed to charities. I mean, look, this agency makes such an impact on so many people's lives through our daily work, but the fact that folks also gave up part of your paycheck is extra laudable. So thank you. All right, moving on, just if I think back to what's been happening in December and recent weeks, I would cite the fact that Kirk Croshoe and I spent a lot of time on the road for a couple more tribal consultations. One of the great honors of this job is the opportunity, and really the requirement, but the opportunity too, from my point of view, to engage in government-to-government consultations with their tribal nations. And so Kirk and I were at White Earth and Boyce Fort recently, as well as going over to our western border and seeing the folks in Moorhead. And I even crossed into Fargo briefly for some Minnesota, North Dakota stuff together. Obviously, we had the big trade mission in November to Australia, and really, by all accounts, once again, a major success. When you have the governor there, of course, you want the logistics to go well, you want all the substance to go well, and really it did. And then last Friday, we had a big highlight with the Governor's International Trade Awards, where we recognized, I think, 7 Minnesota businesses that are doing international trade so very well. An absolute feel-good event. I think we had 250 people. That was maximum capacity. Deputy Commissioner McKinnon did a great job at the beginning, welcoming everyone. The trade office built the whole thing. I got to give remarks. The governor was happy as a clam and touting the success, not only of those exporting businesses, but Minnesota business success overall. So that was another highlight. Yeah, I mentioned the Twin Bing bars already, and as we move into the remainder of the year, we'll be doing some further planning ahead for the next legislative session. And another recent highlight just yesterday was we started a process of briefing the governor on economic indicators, both jobs indicators, labor market indicators, et cetera. So thanks to the Economic Analysis Unit and the Labor Market Information Group for helping to put all that together, the communications team for refining and teaching us to be concise, which hopefully I will do here as well. But it all went very well. I think the governor was happy with it, and special thanks to Neil, who was our primary presenter in the Economic Analysis Unit. And then bringing to a close my initial comments here, I just wanted to note, and I've done this in a couple different places, but we're coming almost to 6 months of me in the job. And in that time, I feel like I have learned so very much, and you all have delivered so much impact for Minnesota. It feels like it's been a relatively seamless transition, and I have you all to thank for that, with teaching me again your acronyms, your programs, your key stakeholders, all those things. And I want to continue to use the role that I have to clear any obstacles you may be facing and to help us accomplish even more. We've talked about the, you could say, somewhat boring concept of implementation as a vision, and yet we are implementing amazing things. The new Employer Reasonable Accommodation Fund. We just had another great outreach meeting on paid family and medical leave. We're delivering new workforce development programs. We're delivering longstanding workforce development programs. The Forward Fund, the Small Business Development Centers, you name it, so many cool things. And we're doing it at a level we haven't done before. So we have indeed scaled ourselves up, and we're continuing that effort. It's not done, and we've got a lot more yet to do. It is also interesting when we look over the horizon and realize this next legislative session and the budgetary environment we're going into are very different. And so in a way, we shouldn't get used to what is the status quo, because we will have to be more measured in the future when it comes to new budgetary asks. But I feel like we are playing our hand very well. We are delivering results for Minnesota. We're in, and ultimately the measure is, how is the economy doing? How are our workers doing? And I think on lots of numerical measures, the answer is very well. So I want to thank you all for a great year. I want to thank you for a great last half of the year that I've been a part of. I'm extremely excited as we look into the years ahead. And with that, I will hand it over to our deputies as well as Darielle to give some additional highlights from their respective domains. Thank you.
All right. Matt, so Commissioner Verlick and I are in the same nondescript conference room in the Department of Revenue. So trying to make sure that we don't get ourselves into like an infinite feedback loop. I think we've succeeded. All hear us. Okay, cool. Hey, everybody. Evan Rowe, Deputy Commissioner for Workforce Services and Transformation. And we were given the brief of selecting 3 highlights for the year, which, man, in 2023, it is a hard year to pick just 3 highlights. So know that I am leaving most things off here. And I still had to cheat to do it. But it's just been such an amazing year for our teams. 3 big things I wanted to highlight today. It goes without saying, passage of the paid leave law is a big deal. It's a big deal for our team. It's a big deal for our agency. It's a big deal for our state. And that's the most important thing. I think we are in the process of hiring an incredible team to deliver this program. We're focusing on working really closely with our customers, making sure that we're delivering a program that all Minnesotans can be proud of, and something that is going to help working Minnesotans be able to stay in the labor force and have support when they really need it. So a lot of work to do. This is going to hopefully continue to be a highlight, but there's a lot of work to do, and we're really excited about getting off to a great start, and just thrilled about that. I also just have to recognize the unemployment insurance team for their implementation of what I think is commonly known as UI for hourly school workers. But really what this is after 80 years of being excluded from the unemployment insurance program, this has allowed paraprofessionals, bus drivers, teachers' aides to have access to this critical benefit during the summer between terms period when they previously didn't have access to it. The UI team implemented this program within 5 days of the bill being signed into law. That's crazy fast for government, and as usual, they did it with unmatched integrity, unmatched accuracy, and just doing an extraordinary job to deliver great customer service for a population that hadn't previously had access to that benefit. That's truly transformational. It gives people access to support and make it easier for them to live their lives. So I applaud the entire UI team which made this happen. And last but not least, I think every team that I work with has really spent a lot of time thinking about service delivery, how we can deliver services really well, thinking about new ways that we can make it easy for our make it easy for our customers, make it easy for and our customers are both, as you know, the individuals that we're serving and the employer community. One great example of a program we're doing to support the employer community is the Employer Reasonable Accommodation Fund, which just launched this year. Again, I think you've seen information about this in the Friday Note and other places, but this is a financial support for businesses to provide reasonable accommodations for members of their staff. I had the pleasure of getting to talk a little bit about it on WCCO last night, and it's been a really, we're seeing some really good interest, and it's the kind of thing that demonstrates that we're here to make it easy for folks to do the right thing. We're seeing continued innovation on in-home services. The in-home services pilot that Vocational Rehabilitation Services did, it has been an amazing way to provide choice to the folks that we're serving in terms of letting them get services in the way and location that is best for them. And even something as simple as an interest form, an online interest form, right? But this is the kind of where previously you had to call in to schedule an appointment to get time with a counselor or get support for VRS or SSB services. Now we have an online interest form that we worked with the Workforce One team to develop. That's the kind of really good nuts and bolts implementation work. We've already seen hundreds of people seek out services using that online tool set. So that's the kind of work that's going to continue. But I really wanted to lift some of these examples up because even just doing what we've been doing can be challenging, but continuing to innovate, continuing to transform the way that we deliver services, I think is what the folks of the state of Minnesota expect from us. And it's what we're going to keep doing so that we can provide the absolute best customer service that we can. So I just wanted to say at the end of a really exciting and momentous year, thank you to all the teams here who continue to push the envelope and think about better ways that we serve the people of Minnesota. Thanks.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Mark Majors, Deputy Commissioner for Workforce Development.
Mark, are you?
Oh, no, you need to turn your speakers back on.
What?
Sorry, technical problem on my end. Go right ahead.
All right. I'll try that again, folks. Mark Majors, Deputy Commissioner for Workforce Development. Good to be with you all this great afternoon. And happy holidays to everyone in advance. So I think as Deputy Commissioner Rowe had mentioned, there are so many good things that have happened in workforce development this year, and it's so hard to kind of pare it down to 3 or 4. Try to get it down to 3, but I went 4. But there's a lot more other things that went really well. Our retain grant is just moving forward in an amazing speed, where we're hitting our milestones on that grant, and we're surpassing them actually at this point in time. And there's just great work that's happening on a rapid response and so forth. But let me talk about some of the highlights, other highlights that we have. One, obviously, this was a historic year for us overall as agency with the $1.8 billion budget. But for workforce development, it was an incredible year, particularly at the legislature with a $200 million commitment to both youth and adult workforce development programs. On our youth side, and a big shout out to Kay Tracy and her team, they've doubled down on some really great, I would say, staple programs for youth programs. And then on the adult side, and a shout out to Nancy Omondi and the youth team, we've actually started 2 brand new programs this year, this legislative session. One was Drive for 5, which we're looking at high growth industries in Minnesota. We're trying to place people. And the other one is Targeted Populations, which is a great grant that's out there that's trying to move more people of color into the workforce. So both those grants are out, and it's almost a combination when you look at both those grants of almost $70 million that is dedicated to workforce development. So we could not be more happier with this historic year for both youth and adult workforce development services. On another note, we officially launched the Office of New Americans on 7/1. As a lot of you know, that this office has been, kind of around in the last 4 years. It's something that, excuse me, former Assistant Commissioner Hooman Jamama had moved forward. And thank you so much to Assistant Commissioner Muhammad, who we solidified his role as the assistant commissioner this past year, but also we got this across the finish line. And so we're super excited about the work that the assistant commissioner is going to be doing with helping our new Americans thrive in Minnesota as they come into our state. Super excited about our Governor's Workforce Development Board under Director McCullen. We hired Katie probably about 7 months ago. She probably feels like it's been 5 years, but she's just done an exceptional job this year in re-envisioning the governor's workforce development. One of our big milestones that we had this year was the launch of the Workforce Summit that we had back in September, which was like amazing and was really felt across the state. Her next efforts are going to be moving our state plan across the finish line, as well as taking bigger steps to re-envision that Governor's Workforce Development Board and really helping set the stage for workforce development for the state of Minnesota. So we're really excited about the work that's been done and where we're going there with the Governor's Workforce Development Board. And then lastly, the state has made a commitment of almost $13 million to serving persons and justice-involved individuals. Thanks to Jeremiah Carter, and his team, as well as the Career Force team that worked really hard on a federal grant where we received almost $10 million of federal funds to actually work with all our folks that are tied to our federal institutions. It's off the chart. Actually, we got 2 grants. We got one initial grant and we got a second grant. So big shout out to that team there. And then we made a $3 million commitment from the state to help those folks that are in state correctional facilities. And we believe that this funding is going to take us and help move a lot of folks into our workforce that are coming out. It gives people hope as they're getting prepared to transition. And we could not be more excited about this program. So a lot going on in workforce development. I wish I could have said all the things that we were doing, but this is just kind of the tip of the iceberg. So thanks for your time and happy holidays, everyone. And I think the next picture, I think there's another slide. And I'm not sure if Assistant Commissioner Muhammad, or we'll pass by those. Commissioner McKinnon, El Jefe, on to you.
Thanks, Mark, and good afternoon. Evan did 3, Mark did 4, I'll do 5, I think, highlights for the year. Seriously, though, as you heard from all 3 previous speakers, such a historic year for our state, but also for DEED. Particularly, in state funding, $1.3 billion. This is over 10 times what we normally receive in a given year. But it is historic, and it's an exciting new and existing industries, basically with significant amounts of money to support semiconductors, clean technology, bioindustrial activity, aerospace and defense, not to mention our initiatives around small business, particularly around Main Street small businesses that we offer all kinds of services, but particularly doubling down on the amount of capital that's available to Main Street businesses, but also technical assistance to make them stronger businesses moving forward. In addition to that, happy to also say that we were able to consolidate all of our small business offices into one new office, our Office of Small Business and Innovation, basically taking the Small Business Development Center program, the Small Business Assistance Office, our Small Business Assistance Partnership Office, and Launch Minnesota all together under one umbrella. It has certainly eased my day and will be a positive thing for our small business ecosystem. Additionally, we are on track to also receive another $650 million from the NTIA to support border-to-border broadband, but I should actually couch that and say Internet for All, which is President Biden's goal, and match it very well with our border-to-border program here in the state. This is a complex program. It has taken a significant amount of work over the past year and a half of public meetings and putting things together for our broadband office, but really excited for the future of where that leads and for actually getting that construction going here, hopefully in the next year. Additionally, facilitating hundreds of local construction projects, actually not only us, but also the Workforce Development Division, historic amounts of money going to not only communities, but also nonprofits for local construction projects. And similarly, much to maybe what people are seeing in the media, around the economy, we are seeing significant amounts of money being placed, private money being placed into expansion projects all across the state, and our continuous regular programmatic offerings that we have, both supporting development locally, but also incentive funding, continues to run above our normal run rates for a year, which is really exciting, but is really going under the radar, actually, with lots of expansions happening all across the state that we're supporting. Also, you heard from the commissioner conducting a lot of international activity this year between Norway, Japan, Australia, hundreds of visitors from across the globe. Our trade office has been incredibly busy doing a lot of great things, but most importantly, the governor has devoted a lot of his time to that activity as well, which really opens up a lot of doors for our businesses. Lastly, as across the agency, our division is welcoming a lot of new employees. Like to obviously welcome them, but also reiterate how grateful we are to all of the existing employees in our division for the incredible amount of work that they have done, continue to do, but also for their continued oversight with a lot of these projects moving forward. This is a lot of work. We recognize that and couldn't be more grateful for the things that they're doing. So that's just a quick wrap for the Economic Development Division. Unfortunately, I was stuck at 5. Otherwise, I'd have easily gotten to 10. So thank you.
Just want to make sure that we highlight here. I know we've got some photos here, and we'll get back to Mark's photos as well, but want to make sure that folks see themselves in the good work that they're doing throughout here as well. So thanks for pulling those all together.
Great. And Kevin, you can blame me. I think I was the one who had to limit everybody to around 4 or 5 highlights. But good afternoon, everybody. Deputy Commissioner Frosch here. I'm here to highlight the work of our operations team today. And I'll say I thought about how to level up all the tremendous amount of work that these teams have done over the last 12 months. And so this is really kind of a by the numbers snapshot. So I'm going to read it out loud here. So we, across our HR team, hired 390 people. We processed over 2,200 grants and more than 600 contracts in AFS. Our Office of Public Engagement and Kirk Croshu, our tribal liaison, participated in over 60 community engagement and outreach events and meetings, including dozens of tribal leader meetings, which aren't even reflected in that number. We published 66 press releases, sent 150 Gov delivery emails, and had more than 8.4 million impressions on Deed's social media posts. I had to do a double take when Darren sent that my way, because that is really something. So thank you, communications. We hosted 10 diversity spotlights for our staff, hosted by our ODEO office. We also just logistically, we settled into the Great Northern Building here in St. Paul, and we welcomed, I wanted to make sure we acknowledged this, we welcomed 2 new babies in the General Counsel's office, along with a whole ton of work, and we've done a lot more. So I want to thank our operations teams in reflecting back to all of the many highlights the other deputy commissioners have shared. We couldn't do it without our operations teams. And you'll see here in these photos, it's a great picture of our AFS, one of our AFS team meetings earlier this year. On the left there, there's a picture of Kirk along with the commissioner, Sasha Bergman from the governor's team meeting. I believe might be with the Lower Sioux there. In the upper right-hand corner, we've got a picture of ICTA along with some of our team members at a community event in the summer. And I believe that's Devin Henry from our communications team and the commissioner enjoying a Pronto Pop, maybe, at the state fair. So lots of really good work, and just want to elevate and thank operations for everything you're doing every day to take on the extra and maintain the current workload as well. So thanks so much.
Well, I will go ahead and take it away. Thanks, Elizabeth. Daryl Dannon, I'm our Government Relations Director, and I'm going to kind of continue on the same vein here, team. I really just want to say thank you for everyone. I'm going to tell you this picture here is probably one of the most fun and inspiring days, maybe of my career. This was when the governor signed all of the major our jobs bill, as well as all the major funding bills for the state of Minnesota. And if you have the ability, I know on the governor and lieutenant governor's website, there's some drone footage as well of the day. I think we were just filled with state employees and folks, advocates who advocated for all these bills, being really excited and proud. And Commissioner, I am sorry this predates you, but this does happen to be the day that Kevin and I at least secretly found out that you were going to be our commissioner. So you were in our hearts and minds, sir. But yeah, thank you everyone so much for all of your hard work. Just reminding myself as we're talking about this that, we had a historic surplus. I think all of us came to many of you and said, what ideas do you have? What ideas have you had in your hopper for the last, 5 years? What ideas are in the back of your mind? What are you hearing from community? We had community conversations to help us vet ideas, find out where we have gaps in the service delivery. And we took a lot of those ideas, put them into kind of a final product, and then brought them to the legislature. And then that work is what you see here. This 1.8 billion really represents a lot of your ideas, community members' ideas of the kind of innovation we could do in the state of Minnesota to really improve services, support folks, do some one-time and some ongoing supports, just to really meet the need in the state of Minnesota now. So always a huge group effort, and the work we do, of course, everyone who came before me, you can see the work we do impacts everyone's lives. sort of sometimes makes your work a lot busier. But I just have immense gratitude, and I'm so proud of this team and the way that we all stood up and represented the agency here. So thank you to all of you. I know Devin Bowdry, who's in this picture and was on the team, he's left our team to go work with Ramsey County. It sounds like he's very happy there. And then I was able to invite 2 new people to our team and the government relations team. So hopefully you've met both Nathan and Hal Pei, and they will, I'm sure, continue to carry the efforts forward. So with that, I'm going to send this back to you, Commissioner, in case you have a couple last words with these last photos here. Thank you, team.
Thank you. And this is fun. This is one great thing about Teams. I like the way all the reactions pop up in a very happy way. So great job to everyone who shared those highlights, and thanks for the reactions and appreciation. And by the way, it's probably worth also just taking a moment to appreciate our interpreter who's providing sign language for those who need it. So thanks for that also. Yeah, the last slide is just to acknowledge the fact that this workforce has coped with the interruptions that happen when you have a new leader. So here you can see all 3 of the folks that have served as commissioner in this particular calendar year. On the left, you can see there I am with former Commissioner Steve Grove. I'm really proud to have had a relationship with him before coming into this job, and now a friendship in which we can exchange advice now that I'm in the role. And so grateful for that, and so grateful to the FTC, the former temporary commissioner, El Jefe himself, Deputy Commissioner McKinnon, for providing his leadership during the interim period before I arrived. And I continue to receive all kinds of positive appreciation of Kevin wherever I go, and I can see the hands clapping now. How about one more round of applause for Kevin McKinnon? Look at that, Kevin. That's pretty nice. All right, so it's been a great year. I think that is the end of the year in review, and we will look forward with optimism to the next year, and we will move forward through the remainder of our agenda. Back to you, Sarah.
Thank you so much, Commissioner, and all of our deputy commissioners, and Darielle, for giving that really amazing celebration of so many of the things that we've accomplished this year as an agency, and knowing that we could never take enough time to address every single thing that everyone has done this year, but it's a great way to sort of wrap up the year and have that celebration. Yeah, we were just going to go back to show a couple of these here. I know, Mark, you had shared some photos about your workforce development. I don't know if you want to just quick note what we're seeing here on the screen.
Sure, thanks, Sarah. Yeah, and I think you see at our Career Force Center on the left-hand side, if I understand it correctly, that was part of the new driver's license policy and career fair, joint career fair that we had on that day. So we had a great turnout where all Minnesotans eligible to get a driver's license, but we had a great turnout of folks from our immigrant population too on a joint career fair. And then on the right-hand side was the super exciting day where we had the kind of the kickoff of the Office of New Americans. And you can see the commissioner and assistant commissioner there. And it was just a great morning. And so just a little bit of piece of some of the work that we're doing and how we're also, supporting our folks in the community as well. So thanks, Sarah.
You bet. And I think Deputy Commissioner McKinnon, I think there were a couple slides too. Sorry, Sam, if we could go back to those just to acknowledge. Sorry, I'm throwing a curveball here at you. There we go. Thanks.
Well, I think I remember all of these, which is good since I was in 1 or 2 of them. We were at Zeus, an electric chassis maker for trucks up in White Bear Lake on the left. Governor Walz joining us for a small business day at the Capitol. And then a fiber project, a broadband project, groundbreaking that we attended in the summer. So excellent pictures and examples of how we engage and how we do projects.
Always fun to see the work on the ground. And so with that, let's hand it over to Ekta to talk to us about public engagement.
Thank you, Sarah. And I'm just thinking about so much fun. We talked about holidays and all the accomplishment. My boring presentation will not be fun, but I'll try to make it fun. So I'm Ekta Prakash, and I've been here at DEED 5.5 months, and very excited to share our 2024 strategic planning for the OPE. I just want to say thank you to the leadership team and commissioner for making this happen. It was a very inclusive and engaged process. Can we go to the next slide? Thank you. And before I dive into that, I really want to introduce our team. So, that's me on my first picture. Then we have Kirk Croshoe. He's our American Indian liaison, and everybody knows Kirk so well. Like, he has been a long time here, and he's a connector, and he connects and strategizes strategy between DEED and Minnesota's 11 federally recognized American tribes, and continue the work in a meaningful, engaged work. And if you don't know Kirk, definitely meet him, and he's a fun person. Want to make it more fun, and anything to do with American Indian tribes and consultation, Kirk is the go person. So thank you, Kirk, for your work. We have Nima Hussain, and Nima is our community service and gov relations coordinator. And Nima, again, she does agency-wide coordination, support, and community engagement, stakeholders meeting, presentation, outreach, engagement, policy and budgeting, and works with both community service and gov relation team. So that's Nima, welcome her. And we have an open position, event and outreach coordinator, which is very exciting. This will amplify a lot of our public engagement event and work in the summer. So we will be filling that position soon. Next slide. Before diving into what is public engagement, I just wanted to make it more like kind of a conversational and educational, even for myself, and did some homework before coming into this meeting. Public engagement came from One Minnesota Plan, and the One Minnesota Plan is what it means for Minnesota itself because of our disparity. And DEED has an Office of Public Engagement, and there's a very special meaning to it. How do we overcome those disparity? And I think we are doing it in our work. We shared all our accomplishment, and we continue to do the work in different ways of engagement, but also through our public engagement lens. And some of the examples I wanted to bring it and highlight in the value of equity and inclusion, which I think we do it all the time. But sometimes we have to speak out, sometimes we have to say it. And some of the ways we do it is through our communication. Our comms team does an excellent job sharing all the information, everything that happens at DEED that goes out in the community. I think that's number one. We do public consultation, like, the team goes out and talk to many different communities and leaders and taking their inputs and ideas before we are framing into a policy. Public participation and engagement again, and also public solving. Like, when there are situations, I think people know what are the answers are before we jump into the conclusion. So public engagement is all about a two-way conversation where we are engaging intentionally the community. And I think that's led into kind of like a strategic mapping, because we were like, what is our value at DEED? And I think I've heard from all the leaders this, before all the accomplishment, that we want to make sure every Minnesotan has an opportunity to thrive. I think that's number one. And that's the role we will play together with the Office of Public Engagement. Next slide. So I want to spend some time here for everyone to understand like what went into this process. And I'm very excited because the innovation team, who did a great job, Jocelyn and C, I want to call them out in this meeting. Before, 5 months of my time here, and I was trying to assess like, what does it mean for DEED with One Minnesota Plan, with equity and inclusion, the work we do, and we do good work. It's a complex work. It's not an easy work. And there's so many different people working in one team and different team and collaborating. How can public engagement interface with each other? So we came up with this model. And in this process, I think preparation and designing was very important because we wanted to do it well. So all the circles on the spiral goes well. So we wanted to select staff from DEED internal who are engaging stakeholders, who are working with customers, who are talking. And they're passionate about those work, but it was hard to engage everyone. So we engaged a few leaders, managers, staff from different departments. Wanted to make sure that when we are building a pathway for engagement, it is a very inclusive process and we are using the lens of equity and inclusion. So that was the prep and design, and that led to kind of the roadmap, what we want to do in next year. So we also did a practical visioning process. We also talked about what are some of the challenges and roadblocks, because it's a complex work and public engagement is not easy. And so there will be roadblocks. How do we navigate that together? And we ended up into a strategic plan, which is achievable. At the same time, it's coordinated and it's done well. And then we also did an implementation plan where we want to make sure we are achieving those goals, we are measuring those goals, and we have the resources. Next slide. So we talked about some of our shared vision and what does it mean for our staff internally on engagement. And we came up with a lot of different aspirations. We came up with the 6 bullet aspirations. I just want to highlight those. It was all about kind of empowerment, meaningful conversation, authentic trust building, interaction, and communication. Public engagement has 3 core elements, which is trust, mutual understanding, and community-driven solutions, which we all know. But how we will achieve that and how we will continue to improve that, I think that was the whole process. And so we created, in order to achieve these aspirations, we ended up into a loop model, which is very simple. The purpose of the loop model is we are engaging communities in a meaningful way. We are closing the loop. We are not leaving it open-ended. And when we leave it open-ended, then the trust, I think that impacts. So we want to make sure we continue to improve that loop model. We want to make sure when we are engaging communities, we are bringing it back to a leadership team. Even though we don't have the answers, we bring it back to the community. This is what we achieved. So we want to continue that, because if we continue to work on that, I think our internal engagement will impact our external engagement, amplify the work of our aspirations. Next slide, please. Thank you. So from that, we landed into a strategic direction. In order to achieve our aspirations, we came up with what does engagement mean to DEED internally? What are the infrastructure we have, and how do we want to deepen those community connections? And those were our 3 strategic directions. And I think that became really important, because when we are doing engagement, we want to make sure we are integrated, coordinated, and collaborated internally, and we can amplify the work external. So as we have heard from many, in our work, we do engagement across the agency, and how can public engagement amplify that engagement, coordination, and build that pipeline internally so we can do it externally very well. And public engagement is not about, again, asking every ideas and proposing everything we want to achieve. It is about how and when we do it. So we wanted to come up with these plans so we do it well. And then that led into our next 90-day implementation planning, which is on the next slide. We will be working on some of the key aspirations around this for the next 1 year. Is how we will achieve these strategies is building a dashboard of our current strategies. So it'll be very cool to know, like, what is DEED's current strategy around engagement across the agency. So having that dashboard, having a public engagement calendar so we can showcase how are we doing it across the agency, taking on feedback, not just from the communities, but also from staff. I think it's important. And I always think that staff are working with the communities on the front line. They know what are some of the challenges and barriers are, and they can also provide input. And also coordinating all our branding materials. So we do a really good job. And when we are out in the community, we want to make sure our tabling events are the best events. Like, we have all the materials of all the programs, and we have a lot of programs coming down in the summer. So we want to amplify that. And getting names and list of all the staff. I really am looking forward to connect with staff who are doing engagement. How can we meet and do a quarterly check-in with DEED on engagement? So I think that will really coordinate the work and bring internal coordination. And so that from there, I have my last question from my plan is, so this is what public engagement will do in the next 2024. So my ask to the staff is, call to action is, I want staff to connect with our team. You can set up a meeting one-on-one. I really want to amplify our outreach effort and events, because sometimes people don't know what DEED is. I think it's an important opportunity to make sure people understand in different ways. and also ideas from communities on community solutions, because sometimes staff also know who are community members that these are some of the challenges and these are the roadblocks we need to work on. So looking forward to connect. And if anyone has a question, please reach out to our team and we will have a report, our plan on the dance soon. So looking forward to work with you. Thank you.
Hey, and if I could just jump in there too, as Ekta finishes, it's worth reflecting in the same way that I'm looking back on my first 6 months. I think you and I started somewhat around the same time. And so we are so fortunate to have Ekta as part of this team. And look, folks, at how much thinking and effort and planning now has been developed in that time. So great work on this plan. And it is ever so important that we are not just some entity that's hidden away behind these walls and no one knows what we do and we don't care what they think. We're having a two-way conversation with our customers and you're helping to lead the way. So thank you.
Okay, wonderful. So Ekta, I know you said that you were going from the celebration and then into your boring stuff, but I think I win today for probably the least celebratory or most boring update to give everyone. So bear with me. And that what is boring but yet very important is our annual enterprise training. So just a reminder to folks, we have our deadline by the end of the month, December 31st. You can access your trainings through the self-service portal. Please do reach out to me if you have any questions. I know I hear from you. If you're troubleshooting, can't access something, some of you get extra things added to your record that we try to figure out where they come from, but somehow they pop up. So don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have any questions. And I just want to thank all of you for your time that you dedicate to getting these courses complete, because they make sure that they set up a good foundation for us here at DEED and across the state. So with that,
Sarah,
oh yeah.
And I should stop interjecting after everyone says something important, but you've said something important as well. Thank you for leading all this work, but including the trainings. And, you know, I just got to do them as a new person not all that long ago, so it'll be a refresher for me. But these are important, and so too is the sort of broader set of professional development things that we're doing, including under the auspices of our individual development plans. And, you know, our compliance with this requirement and also with IDPs, that's something that's like reportable or that we need to in fact report to MMB. We just had this quarterly leadership meeting where they lined up all the agency performances on getting in our IDPs actually. So we have a little ways to go on that, but I was actually quite impressed with how far along we are. So I want to thank everybody and also just encourage that we continue working on these, not only for sake of compliance, but because it's all how we, you know, sharpen our skills and get better at what we do.
Thank you so much, Commissioner, for that backup and support. It's important. All right, next slide. Okay, so it's our time to honor our retirees coming up here for DEED. Go ahead and move on to the next one here. Okay, so these are retirees from this town hall until next town hall. So just as a reminder, that's how we set things up to make sure that we recognize the folks while they're still here at DEED prior to their retirement. So to Kristen, Maylene, Jacqueline, Nancy, and Sue, thank you so much for your service to DEED. We wish you all the best in your next journey post-retirement here at DEED. So thank you so much. Amazing service. Thanks to everybody for giving those hand claps and appreciation. Thank you so much. And then let's turn things over to Neil for our stories of impact.
Yeah, every month we share examples of how our work together at DEED has positively impacted our fellow Minnesotans. So this month we have 3 stories to share. Our first story of impact comes from Trade Adjustment Assistance, or TAA, in DEED's Employment and Training Programs Division, and TAA staff person May Godanga. Grace received assistance through TAA and the Dislocated Worker Program at the Career Force location in Brooklyn Park, and is pursuing a career in healthcare. Because Grace was eligible for TAA, her tuition to earn a Master of Science in Nursing was paid for 100% by TAA. Now she's a registered nurse and aims to become an instructor to help others grow in the field of nursing as well. Grace says it's really helped her being able to communicate with fellow Swahili speakers. Meg and TA also speaks Swahili. Here's the message of gratitude that Grace shared with us. I am writing to thank Team Deed for going above and beyond during my career transition. Special thanks to Cynthia Wilson at Deed Dislocated Worker Partner Hired and Meg Odaga in Deed TAA program for their unwavering support and for their tremendous encouragement throughout my education. It was a momentous and challenging pursuit to undertake a Master of Science in Nursing, but the support I received from the Deed team made life manageable and my education a success story. Because of Deed, I am a registered nurse working in Minnesota and continuing my education as a postmaster's nurse educator. Forever grateful. Our second story of impact comes from Career Force and features Sam Keel, who works out of the Career Force office in Alexandria. Robert had found employment and credits Sam for making all the difference in his finding work that was perfect fit for him. Here's Robert's story in his own words. I was looking for innovative ways to expand my job search, and a friend recommended getting on LinkedIn. Knowing very little about LinkedIn, I attended Creative Job Search, Internet and Social Media, a virtual workshop offered through Career Force. That is where I met Samuel Keel, the facilitator, who immediately increased my interest level in online networking. At the end of the class, he offered assistance to anyone who would like personalized tips in making online job search and networking less daunting. I took him up on his offer and reached out to him. Sam was my first connection on LinkedIn. He assisted me virtually in completing my account and demonstrated how to maximize my online job search efforts. Let me tell you, reaching out to Sam was the best decision I made for my job search. I want to thank Career Force for offering virtual workshops with helpful staff who are engaging, supportive, energetic, and approachable. Connecting with Sam has been a major turning point in my success in securing employment. I am sincerely grateful to have Sam support me through this journey. I could not have done it without him. Thanks, Sam. You are the best. Our third and final story of impacts comes from VRS, Vocational Rehabilitation Services, and VRS staff person Tara Ninneman. Tara Ninneman is a VRS placement coordinator based in Duluth. Last June, she started working with a VRS customer who had lost her job. This customer, who coincidentally is also named Tara, wanted to work and needed some assistance finding employment that met her needs and matched her skills and interests. Tara from VRS met with Tara, the customer, to determine what kind of work she was interested in. Then Tara from VRS met with a local disability services employer to determine if there might be a good employment fit for Tara there. After a few meetings, the employer, Peace of Mind Duluth, created a position for Tara and hired her. Tara has been at Peace of Mind since August, where she carries out a variety of office tasks from shredding, scanning, data entry, and file organization to working in Excel and Word. Tara is also involved in activity and event planning for Peace of Mind's community and residential support services. Tara truly enjoys her work and it feels like a great fit for her. In fact, this is what Tara says about working at Peace of Mind. I love this job so much that I could marry it. Tara's employer is happy too. Lisa Tyron, president of Peace of Mind, had this to say about Tara. Tara is doing very well. She is a self-starter and a great communicator. Also, please remember to share your stories of impact. Use the Stories of Impact submission form. Maybe next slide, please. So use the Stories of Impact submission form on the communication request page of the Den. You can see the arrow pointing directly to it. And next up, we have our shout outs. So let me turn it over to Katie McClellan.
Hi, everyone. I think like half of Minnesota right now, I'm trying to work my way through a cold. So apologies if I stumble through any of this, but I am reading our shout outs for today. Our first shout out goes to Jackie Grieger with the Minnesota Trade Office. Jackie's nominator says, I want to give a shout out to Jackie for always being reliable with getting award letters and communication out for the Launch Minnesota program. This latest round of award letters came at a time when Jackie had an abundance of work on her plate, and she worked through the evening hours to assure the grantees were sent award letters on time. No matter the time crunch, she makes it happen. The launch team appreciates her. And as you can see, the DEED values she has are focus on the customer, communicate early and often. Our second shout out goes to a group: Lidbeth Guzman, Angel Hertel, Samuel Keel, Amber Kropp, and Lindsay Hansen with CareerForce. The group's nominator says, after identifying a training need, planning began for a comprehensive region-wide training. Sam Kuhl provided valuable technical assistance, while Amber Kropp and Lizzie Hansen handled room setup. Lidbeth and Angel provided top-notch training about the migrant and seasonal farm worker complaint system and front desk welcoming protocol. Thank you, Liddy, Angel, Sam, Amber, and Lindsay for making this awesome training an impactful event. Great job. These CareerForce members demonstrated focus on the customer and creating inclusion. And our final shout out goes to Teresa Top in Vocational Rehabilitation Services. Teresa's nominator said, Teresa is great at helping her team stay accountable. She encourages that policy and guidance are followed and helps her counselors and techs as much as she can. She is a joy to work with and strives for excellence. Thanks for all you do, Teresa. And Teresa demonstrates communicate early and often and seek solutions as our DEED values. The shout outs that we could not get to in today's town hall will be listed on the Den. Make sure to visit the Den if you would like to nominate a coworker. And thank you to all of the folks that we did shout outs for your great work.
Thank you so much, Katie and Neil, for those fantastic, inspiring messages. I think somebody posted in the chat that this has been a really inspiring meeting, and I couldn't agree more. What a great way for us to reflect and wrap up 2023. Just a note to join us next month at the Town Hall and Employee Recognition Awards ceremony. We'll do some more celebrating and acknowledging amazing work here at DEED. So that's going to be Thursday, January 25th. And I believe that's out on calendars now. So thanks so much. Commissioner, any last words that you'd like to give us? I just want to acknowledge we've only got a couple more minutes. I think I've only seen 2 questions in the chat, and I think both of them might have been given an answer, but if not, we will make sure to get an answer to you. We've done so much celebrating today. We haven't had a lot of time for the Q&A, but hand it over to you, Commissioner.
Not much to add, but yes, once again, all the appreciation is appreciated. I think this is part of a healthy culture. It's fun and it's wonderful to be reminded of all the amazing things that we have done and that we will continue to do. So thanks for that. I talked about what was one of my favorite things in winter. I'll tell you one of my least favorite things is jumping in cold water. So look for that video, and I'm excited for our next town hall as well. And lastly, enjoy some time here in the holidays. We still have obviously lots of work on our plates, but it's also a time to enjoy your families and enjoy a little recharge time around the holidays.
If you are not in the habit of reading the Friday note on Friday, this one you're not going to want to miss. So make sure that you take a look at that one. All right, everyone, have a wonderful rest of your day, week. Enjoy your time coming up here with our holiday time off, and we look forward to seeing all of you next month at the Town Hall and Employee Recognition Awards. Take care.